And then that evolved into eventually you starting your own company. And
Well, I actually started my company. My first company was in 1971. Yeah, and the name of the company was Natural Sound. and what I was doing is I was doing design work with other friends of mine for studios, recording studios. We were building studios, the entire thing, and some other people were taking care of the acoustics and the construction details. And we were fortunate enough to work in those days with George Oxberger a lot on the studio designs, but we took care of the rest of it. And our eyes were towards operating these studios in ways that could be used by conventional engineers should a project come in. So we had consoles that were the heart of the studio, but we wanted to operate them the way we wanted to, where we went straight to tape and then monitored through the console and mixed through the console. And so we had the studios set up. We could do either or, because we had to accommodate those commercial projects. Most engineers would come in and go, "What are you talking about?" Now everyone's doing it, but back then they didn't. And so, I started my first company in 1971, and we were building high-end hi-fis. Not quite the audiophile grade stuff, because we'd have burlap bags for speaker grills and stuff like that. It wasn't exactly audiophile, but it sure sounded good. We were using mostly Tannoy monitor golds, 12-inch monitor gold, dual concentric speakers. We were using Marantz tube amplifiers, like Model 9 and the Model 2s, and occasionally tube Macintosh amplifiers. The MC, I think it was 3600 or something like that. It was a massive thing. So we were building stuff like that, but we kept going back to, okay, what you have to have a preamplifier to run all this stuff. So let's see here, we're going to have a preamp that we can run vinyl, run a phono chain through. We're going to have another one that's just take the output of our 2-track tape machine through, and we don't care about tone controls. We don't want those, so we just needed level and maybe some balance controls or something like that, but we really didn't want anything else, and it just needed to sound really, really good. And of course, the most demanding part of all that was the RIAA chain, the vinyl chain, because we were using moving coil cartridges, which are extremely low output. You have to have a 30 dB gain amplifier before you even hit the RIAA equalizer section there. So all that really, really was demanding in the circuit design. And of course, we cared about how it sounded. So we would buy everything we could find that was supposedly really good, and most of it wasn't very good. And you try to modify it. Sometimes you could. Most of the time you're ripping stuff out of it, you're trying to simplify it. So why don't we just start from scratch, And so that was like in the early 70s, probably 72, 73. And yet you don't want to necessarily do that. If you can go buy something that sounds really good and it's a reasonably priced thing, cool. And one of the ones that we bought, I think in the early 70s, was a solid state preamplifier that had moving coil inputs on it as well as moving magnet inputs for the RIAA. It had a little stepped attenuator, and I may have had tone controls, but we never used them. And what I came to find out, it sounded very, very, very good. And that's kind of where, okay, it doesn't have to be vacuum tube. We have other possibilities here and not have to work within the limitations that vacuum tubes present in the real, or the practical limitations that they present in the real world. Plus, when you start to work with solid state components, you have sometimes, maybe usually, have the ability to have P channel and N channel, PNP and MPN. So you have complementary opposite sex devices. To my knowledge, there's no such thing as a P channel vacuum tube. They're all N channel devices. So that limits you to the types of topologies that you can use vacuum tubes in, and the characteristics that those topologies generate. When you go to complementary push-pull circuits, there's a lot of really cool stuff that happens to the design when you have that capability.
Mhm.